Hello, troopers, and welcome to the 501st Common Chatter. I'm Will, and as you can see, it is just me today, unfortunately. Sadly, Chloe couldn't make it for this episode, and basically because we have a lot of Star Wars to go through at the minute, we needed to get this episode out today, and I was the only one available. So we will miss her, and I will miss having her to bounce off, but it's just me, so thank you for joining me. We have a lot to go through today. We have 3 episodes of Andor, 4, 5, 6, and we have a lot of new release figures, hot toys, Funkos, Lego, etc. So there's a lot to go through. So bear with me because you're going to get a lot of me today. So let us start with the personal news updates. Going to start us off with on Saturday was Chloe's birthday. So I decided to get a few little things, but the main thing I got her which was a big surprise as well. She didn't know about this one. Was a Geonosis Padme minifig. It's a bit of a rare minifig for those of you who are listening instead of watching. Yeah, I got my hands on one of these, and obviously Chloe loves Padme. She's cosplayed Geonosis Padme before, so yeah, I had to get her that. We did bump into some 501st troopers on Saturday as well. We went to Smith's to get the free promotional Millennium Falcon sort of minifig for May the 4th weekend. There was a Darth Vader there, who we've seen before, Ian, looking good as always, Revenge of the Sith version of Vader, and there was also a Shore Trooper, so that was quite cool. And then lastly for me, update-wise, if you might have remembered, I mentioned on the last episode the Bad Batch Funkos I just bought. So they're now here. So I'll quickly show you them. I have them here. I'll do like a proper post on all of them now that they all arrived, because Hunt actually arrived today, a couple of hours before the podcast begins. So very lucky. So here's the Crosshair Funko. I love the box as well for these, but this one was a bit of a tricky one because there's 2 different Crosshair Funkos, and I was umming and ahhing between which one to get. So the other one is the same pose, but it's the Camino version. So on the back, it's just got the planet of Camino, the half crosshair. He's got a bit of scuff paint marks on his mask and helmet, sorry. But that's really about it. I quite like this one. It's the exact same pose as the Camino one as well. But I kind of wanted all of them together. I mean, Chloe even said, that makes it better if you've got them all in the same. And I was like, yeah, do you know what? I agree with that. So, yeah, here's the Crosshair Funko Pop. We also already had the Hunter, so that was I don't need to get that one. We have Tech, looking very cool with his goggles and his little blasters. I think it would have been quite cool if they'd given him a tablet or something in one of his hands, but hey, I'm not complaining. We've got Wrecker, looking good with the blaster. Again, there was another version of Wrecker. I believe it was the Camino version. And he didn't have the blaster. He just sort of had his fists out. The only other thing I did notice as well, he did have his vibro sword, dagger, in his pocket. But yeah. And then we also have Echo. So, yeah, there's the 4 Bad Batch Funkos that have joined our collection. I am thinking of possibly getting Omega to go with it, because that would technically complete the Bad Batch ones. And I'm like, But yeah, no, I'm happy now. I've got all of the Bad Batch. When me and Chloe finally get our placing set up and everything, it's gonna look good having all of them together. So that's the plan. Shall we move on to today's episode, because there was a lot to go through, and you guys are probably going to get bored of just hearing my voice today, so bear with me. Now, starting off, I saw this on 2 reliable Star Wars figures, Funkos announcements. You might have heard of Yak Face, we've mentioned them on here, and Figure Brian. Both of them have announced this today, and I'm a little bit excited, but I can't find it anywhere online. So I'm like, is this real? Because if this is real, this is a big deal. But I'm also like, if it is this, why has there not been an announcement of it? If that makes sense. It's such a big deal. So, you ready? We have the Commander Cody Black Series helmet. If this is true, oh my God. So this is a picture from, I think this is the one that Figure Brown posted. If this is true, this is going to be one of the best Black Series helmets. I've got the Rex one behind me. I've got the Reg Wilder Clone Trooper, and we've got the 501st. But the Cody one looks so cool. And we have become a bit of a fan of Cody very recently, especially with in terms of the Black Series figure and the minifig Lego. So, it is very cool. Chloe, being the voice of reason, was like, we're not going to get this. We need to save money. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. But then it's also Commander Cody Black Series helmet. So hopefully this turns out to be very true, because if it is, I'm sorry, Chloe. We're going to have to. So yeah, that is one of the ones, like I said, it's take it with a grain. I haven't seen anything confirming it yet, but obviously 2 different people are posting it as a this is coming. So you sort of I'm gonna believe them, really. Right, moving on to Hot Toys. So this is one of those Hono figures, sort of hot toy figures. I think it was the last episode or the episode before, when we were doing a Star Wars Celebration breakdown, we mentioned the Star Wars Rebels Stormtroopers. There was the sort of commander with the orange pauldron, and there was also the normal Stormtrooper. And they had the same animation style as you see in Rebels, it was a little bit cartoony, a little bit, features were exaggerated, stuff. They've announced the Darth Vader from Rebels one. So his mask is a little bit elongated, and the eyes are red, and it does look quite cool, because obviously this looks exactly like the Rebels minifig. Not minifig, the Rebels version of Vader. Yeah. I didn't love the animation style for Rebels. I know a lot of people did, a lot of people don't, but that was just my opinion. I prefer Clone Wars. We will hopefully be doing a Tales of the Underworld breakdown in the next couple of days, hopefully. And again, just seeing the sort of Clone Wars style animation again, I'm just like, it's so good. But it is a very cool figure, and especially if you're getting the Stormtroopers, so they might be doing a couple of figures of these. They might do a Captain Rex. They might do, they might do an Ezra. They might do a Sabine. I think it works best for the helmets because it's a little bit easier to do the exaggerated features, but who knows? So we have this hot toy. We have a Poe Dameron hot toy. Again, if you've watched or listened to this podcast, you know how big of a fans me and Chloe are of the details in the like face and the like hair. Again, if you like hot toys, this is a figure that you might want to add to your collection, especially if you've got a couple of the sort of sequel hot toys. Looks very good though. Here's a sort of a closer look up of Oscar Isaac's face. Like, again, it's so good. It's so detailed as well. We have a Jar Jar Binks hot toy. I believe there's a couple of like Revenge of the Sith ones coming soon as well. I think someone did a sneak look, or there was I think it might even be in Celebration. There was a look at Kenobi coming from Revenge of the Sith. So they are, carrying on with interesting characters that I don't think have had hot toys before, like, Poe Dameron or Jar Jar Binks. He looks so like this pose with the tongue out looks so much like you see in the film. So, yeah, again, another shout out to Hot Toys for making it look so detailed and so real. So Jar Jar Binks hot toy. This is pretty cool, I will admit. So this is an Elite Squad Trooper hot toy. So this is the clone troopers that, technically they're not clone troopers. These are the grey, like, sort of, it's a weird, I don't know what the colour, like greyish black, metallic grey clone trooper armour that Crosshair leads and commands in Bad Batch Season 1. So we see them, like, it is clone armor, but it's not got clones inside it. And yeah, it doesn't go too well for them, I don't think. I'm trying not to spoil anything. It is a very cool armor. Like, you can do the pose of them, like, on the radio. You've got different blaster options. So here you got the long blaster, you got the minigun, and you got the normal sort of handheld rifle. You got the sort of green tint on the visor. It looks very good. Personally, I do quite like this one, but again, we don't collect hot toys, but we would like at some point like a Rex or a Revan or an Anakin or a Padme in our collection. So maybe one day we'll get a hot toy, but it's not like the Funkos where, we're trying to collect all the ones we really want. So we have, this is a really cool one as well. We got a clone commando boss. All the Delta Squad commandos are coming out as hot toys. This commando boss looks sick. He has the light up mask as an option. Just looks so cool. I love the blasters. I love the little pistol. Again, you have multiple options with the blasters or pistols. But again, I do really like the clone commando armor. Like, growing up, as like a kid, this was one of my favorite clone armors, and I wanted to be a clone commando. So yeah, going on to Funkos. We have a Bitty Pop. Well, two Bitty Pops. We have a Luke Skywalker and Speeder. So I think they call it Bitty Rides. I think they're called. So it's literally a Luke Skywalker from New Hope and his little Speeder from A New Hope. So yeah, and you can put them in it, or you can sort of keep them separate, up to you. And then there's a really cool one. There's a Star Wars arcade. So you get the like little arcade retro game like stand, and you put the like little Luke bitty pop in it to make it look like you're playing as the character. They've done a couple of these recently. They did one of like Tron, so I was like, that is quite cool. I'm a bit of a Tron fan. So is Chloe, but yeah, it's something quite cool, something a bit unique, different. So yeah. Okay, moving on. We have some Andor Funko Pops. Wow, Andor season 2. So we have Cassian Andor in his TIE pilot helmet. Oh, sorry, TIE pilot outfit, and there is a chase version with the helmet on. That's the difference. So you can either have him without the helmet or with the helmet. It is just the chase version with the helmet. We have Saw Gerrera. What we see him in like episode 4, 5, 6. It's like that sort of era. Saw Gerrera. We have a Dedra. We have director Krennic. And we also have a K2SO, who we still haven't seen in Andor yet. So hopefully we see him soon. I'd imagine it'll be probably the next batch, probably like tomorrow's episode we'll see him, because they are doing a lot of figures and toys of him. We have some Tales of the Empire Funko Pops, which I think was a really interesting choice, because I didn't expect them to do any of it. We had Tales of the Jedi, and I don't think they did a single one. So yeah, so we have I think it's Admiral Thrawn here. So he's not Grand Admiral or like Moff Thrawn. I can't remember which one it is, but it's like Thrawn before he's obviously Grand Admiral. We have young Morgan when she was on Dathomir. And she actually glows in the dark. Her sickles light up green, which is quite cool. We have the fourth sister, I believe it is. And we also have Barisofi in her Inquisitor gear, which, again, quite cool. Quite cool to see a different type of Barris Funko. And, like I said, it's interesting to see that they're doing a Tales of the Empire set. So maybe they'll do Tales of the Underworld or Tales of the Jedi next, or some point. Ooh, we got a Mace Windu from Revenge of the Sith. So this is literally the moment after he's had his arm chopped off by Anakin. And he's getting electrocuted as well by Palpatine. The unlimited power. So there's that. And the lightning glows in the dark as well. So quite cool. Now, if you remember last episode, we mentioned about how they're doing a lot with the range trooper. He's got a Black Series figure. I think he had a vintage collection figure, and he had a hot toy. He's also got a Funko Pop now. So this is a Imperial Range Trooper, the one that gets destroyed by the TIE Avenger by Andor. But this is quite cool, Funko. He's got his little rocket launcher. Just standard random Funko. So we have 2 Disney Park editions coming, like lightsaber wise. So this is the Master Soul Jedi lightsaber. I quite like this one because it's got the sort of burn marks around the sort of edge of it. Comes in obviously this nice High Republic Jedi box. Very cool. We also have a double pack of Shin Hatties and Balin Skulls lightsabers from Ahsoka. So yeah, nice double pack if you're trying to, do a collection of them. There's 3 more lightsabers for you. I believe there was a 212 Trooper helmet, but I feel like we announced that pretty recently. So we have the Lego Star Wars Advent Calendar now. A lot of people I saw were not overly happy about this because apparently they've used a load of minifigs from other Advent calendars. Now, being very honest, I couldn't tell you exactly which ones or what they've sort of, even if it's like a slight change. The only ones I did see that I know people were quite looking forward to was the little Babu Frick. And I think there's a Jawa with a Christmas jumper as well. So yeah, we've never got any of the Advent calendars, and probably won't. It's just something that doesn't really appeal to us. But yeah, we have the battle droid with Stap. That is the speeder, little hovering speeder that we see in Phantom Menace used. I think it's quite cool. Something a bit different. It's nice to get almost like a full battle droid, like B1 battle droid as a figure, because we all know them as a little body, 2 legs, 2 little arms, and a little head attachment. They're probably the simplest Lego minifig, or one of them. But it's nice to see a bit more of a detailed one, and the Stup is quite a cool addition to go with it. And it even comes with a mini version anyway. So I think we have one of these mini versions. But yeah, you got one of those. We have Plo Koon's Starfighter, Microfighter. This has been a bit of a disappointment one, because the box art for the RC-170 has Plo Koon's Starfighter on the box. So people were hoping that it was going to be a full size Starfighter, a bit like the Kenobi or the Jedi Bob one. But no, it's just a microfighter. The Plo Koon figure though looks quite good. They've really ramped it up and how much better he looks compared to the old one. I just think the microfighter looks a bit rubbish, and the droid is literally just the head. You get the full droid. So yeah, I think this one's coming out in June, start of June. This is one of those that you only get for the Plo Koon minifig. To be honest, though, it's not that good of a set. We have the Darth Maul mech. Yeah, for some reason they've decided to continue with the mech series. I don't know why. I didn't think they were that big of a hit. I mean, the only reason we got the Boba Fett one was because we wanted the Boba Fett updated minifig because he looked so cool. We have the Death Trooper and Night Trooper battle pack. So you get 2 Death Troopers with the Peridian metal gold effect on them, and you get 2 different Night Troopers with one with the metal grey helmet, and they've also got the bandages on them, so they look actually different troopers, which is quite cool. Whereas the Death Troopers, they look like the exact same figure. You get 2 of those, but still quite cool. Moving on to Black Series figures, we have 2 more Revenge of the Sith box art anniversary figs. So we have a Magna Guard. This is quite cool because you can actually take his cape off and see what they look like underneath. So you have, here's the classic sort of pose with the cloth cape over them. and then you can take them off for whatever reason. But when I see them like this, I always think of Proxy from Force Unleashed. If you don't know Proxy, go check him out. Or if you don't know Force Awakens, go check it out or play it because it's an amazing game. But yeah, very different. We have an Ayla Sakura Revenge of the Sith Revenge of the Sith box. My apologies. She comes with 2 different lightsabers, so you can have her with like the normal one, or you can have her with the like lightsaber in motion to make it look sort of like she's like swinging it. I personally prefer the like standing one because I just think it looks better. But yeah, the figure looks quite cool. Yeah. There's a rumor that these 2 are the last 2 coming in the Revenge of the Sith box art. Don't take my word for it, but that's the rumor going around, and I really hope that isn't the case because you could still do like a Kenobi or an Anakin at least, So we have a Rogue One, Shore Trooper, and Death Trooper Black Series double pack. Quite an interesting, obviously, there's a lot of Rogue One stuff at the minute because of Andor. And they look quite cool. So, yeah, if you guys fancy some more Imperials into your collection, this is a good double pack for you. This one, I kind of want to get, I will be very honest. It is a very cool Black Series figure. It is Clone Lieutenant Gale from Revenge of the Sith. So he is a 327th Star Corps lieutenant. He is like, I think he's second in command behind Commander Bly. And obviously the box art is Revenge of the Sith, but it's not the anniversary like bubble pack. It's the classic Black Series sort of box. I kind of want to get this one because I think the figure looks really cool. The helmet is actually like, it's not a copy from like another clone trooper. It is a brand new one, which I also quite like. And it's just nice to get different, what do you call it, like Black Series clone trooper figures. Here he is holding the helmet, but again, you can have it with him on, and like that pose just reminds me of obviously Order 66. Now, really interestingly, I went on to see like if there was I was looking at clone Black Series figures the other day, and they've got on the website, on the Hasbro Pulse website, like a Commander Bly, old Commander Wolf, and Commander Cody, and I was like, these figures are old, like they're not new. So I think obviously they might be doing some re-releases soon because obviously we had the Cody in the bubble pack, but we could be getting a Wolf and a Bly to go with Gale, which I think would be quite cool. We have a sort of Sand Trooper, from Star Wars: A New Hope, the ones with the orange pauldron. I think Chloe would quite like this one because he's got a little backpack on him. And he's got a bit of like sand weathering on him as well, which also sort of makes him look quite good. Going on to Vintage Collection, we have Ben Kenobi from A New Hope. Again, this is sort of, they're doing a bit of New Hope stuff at the minute. Looks quite cool. Nothing really too much to say about this one. We have a Stormtrooper. This one doesn't say like New Hope, where this one says like, even that one doesn't say A New Hope, but you can clearly see it's A New Hope. But yeah, this one's probably another New Hope one as well, but it does look really cool, to be fair. Just, I don't know if it's like they've updated it somehow, but yeah. We have a special 3-pack Vintage Collection of Stormtroopers of the Empire, which is cool. We have a Scout Trooper, a Sand Trooper, which is basically a mini version of the Black Series one I just showed you, and a Snow Trooper. So yeah, if you're building your Imperial army, like, here you go. So going on to Andor. Again, another really good 3 episodes, I thought. There's so much like little details in it as well. Even like tiny little things that just you wouldn't expect, but do make a big deal to the story if you know Star Wars, if you get me. So we start off with the gong again, the ferric gong that we had at episode 1, and it says BBY 3. So obviously this is a year later. So we last saw Andor leaving Mina Rao with Bix and Willman in the TIE Avenger. So this is where we sort of pick off. We have Bix sort of having a nightmare in this like house flat that she's staying in with Andor, with Cassian, sorry, and he's like, fast asleep, and she hears like there's someone in the apartment with them, so she picks up the blaster, goes and has a look, and it is Dr. Gerst. So Bix is still having nightmares about him, and he's torturing a guy that we don't know, but on the floor next to him is a ATST pilot helmet that we see in like Return of the Jedi. Now, someone on a breakdown that I saw said this is the Imperial pilot, or the Imperial that Cassian killed, which Bix goes on about a lot in these 3 episodes, especially episode 4. I think she brings it up quite a bit. But so that would make sense because she's obviously having nightmares about Gorst and this Imperial who she didn't want Cassian to kill, but he did. So it turns out he was an ATST pilot by the sounds of it. So moving on, we then go to Gorman, where we see Cyril is living his life over there now, because at the end of I think it was towards the end of episode 3. We do realize in episode 3 that Dedra has been given the Gorman job by Krennic and Partagaz, so he's obviously there is a like undercover, but we go into that in a bit. So we see him and he's like combing his hair in the mirror, and he notices that he's being watched by someone. So he sneakily, like leaves the place, and he puts a little tripwire on the door that no one would notice. And then he makes his way through the Gorman streets. And it's a very interesting place. It looks quite nice, but it's also very looks a bit dated. And they are doing you can see there's a couple of people protesting in the sort of main square, and he has got a job at the bureau. So he's basically had a promotion, so he's now like a branch manager of the bureau of something, I can't remember. But yeah, so he's working there, but it's like he's undercover. So he makes his way to his office, where he has a call with his mum. She does annoy me, not gonna lie. She's a bit of an annoying character, but he basically plays it off as oh no, this is a promotion. him and Dedra have apparently split up, and his mum's sort of trying to get him to come home, and like he's like, no, I'm happy here. What we're doing here is important. And we learn that his sort of calls are being tapped, but he knows that, and he's doing it deliberately. So yeah. Sorry, let me just get my little notes up here. So the Gorman as well is a bit from like, so we see these group of rebels sort of listening in on his conversation, and trying to see what sort of person he is and if they can use him. But it's a bit like sort of a France 1940s like resistance against another sort of, should we say, dominant empire that was controlling them at the time. We're not going to go into that, but I feel like that is a big inspiration and use for this series and these Gorman rebels. They're more of like a resistance instead of rebels, and we sort of learn that a little bit later. Yeah. So then we go back to Coruscant, and Bix and Cassian are going towards a little shop. Cassian's like, we got to be a little bit more careful. Like, he is very paranoid and doesn't want anything to happen to Bix. But Bix is like, it's a shop, we're fine. So they go in, and it's quite funny. It's literally like, it's funny to see a shop, like a corner shop on Coruscant, like you get over here in the UK or around the world, So quite funny, but Bix asks for some fruit and some peppers, and he says like, "Oh, can your husband handle them? They're quite hot." And he's like, "Yeah." But even then, like, and Cassian's like, "No, I've got to go." He doesn't like it. Oh, and the shop is also called Samos Bodega, which is very cool. So the rebels or the resistance, well, I'm going to call them the Gorman rebels because that's sort of what they are, but they're more like resistance, as I said. They're like, maybe he can help us. Let's see what we can, if he's interested. So this guy here is called Sam, and he offers Cyril a spider as a tourist attraction. So like if you go to London, for example, you'll see a lot of people selling Big Ben statues or Buckingham Palace statues and stuff like that. He's basically selling Gorman dead spiders as like something you put on your shelf. And I wonder if this is something that Disneyland is going to start doing at Galaxy's Edge, or if you're going to find in Disney shops around the world. I doubt it, but that would be quite funny. But he tells him that this isn't an ordinary spider. There's a sweet inside, and on the wrapper he will find the coordinates or location of a sort of town hall meeting the locals are having later. And he's like, it's public, it's like, it's not, but you're more than welcome to come along. So they're already sort of vetting him, which I thought was quite funny. We then get this really, I think I've got a picture of it. Yeah. So we get this image of these two security guards to the bureau watching pod racing. And I was like, this is so cool. I was like, I'm so glad to see that pod racing is still a thing in Star Wars. Again, this is literally like an Easter egg just for the fans. There's nothing in particular about it. One of the breakdown videos I saw, someone reckons this is just used footage from Phantom Menace pod racing, which would be quite funny because it does look like it is the Boom to Eve like race. But I'm just glad to see a bit of pod racing in the background again, even if it's just a bit of a like little nod to it. But Cyril says that he's left some files on his desk. He needs to quickly go get them, and the guards sort of like let him in begrudgingly, and he goes to a sort of secret room where he calls Dedra, and he tells her that he's got a he goes home, notices that his house has been sort of like gone in, so he knows that they've been there, so he knows that they're properly looking at him. Then he goes back to work to say, I've left something on my desk, I need to get it. They let him in. He goes to like a secure room and he calls Dedra and tells her that the rebels have made contact, basically telling him to go to this meeting that they're having, and that they've been to his place, so they are watching him. So Dedra's like, well, okay, it's working, good. So that's quite cool. We then see Mon Mothma visiting like loads of different other sort of senators, trying to get support to stop the extension of the Pord bill being passed, which I think is something to do with the passing of resources, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but basically she's trying to get support to stop it. Like, and we see a lot of senators being like, no, I'm not gonna stop it. I'm, basically I'm profiting, or it's working out fine for me, so I'm gonna keep supporting it. But this one's really interesting. By the way, I love this shot of the like architecture on Coruscant, of like these triangles and like how clean and like upper class it looks. But this person Mon is talking to looks very much like Senator Lanavir Villacham. And for those of you who don't know, he is a senator that we see in The Force Awakens as part of the New Republic. So when Starkiller Base wipes out the New Republic, there's that shot on Hasnium Prime of a couple of like New Republic officials and senators like seeing this red ball of light coming, and one of them looks very much like this guy. So it could be him. And that would make sense as well, especially if, he is part of the New Republic. And again, as you can see, there's her aide that I mentioned. I can't remember his name. But yes, so we see Mon trying to get people on her side. We go to the locals at the town meeting, where some of them are very passionate about what the Empire is actually doing here on Gorman. They believe that they are building an armory in the center, and they don't have proof, and they need proof, and it gets a little bit heated. Cyril's there, and he's like just watching some of the rebels sort of like join and surround him, and yeah, it gets a little bit intense, and some of them are not happy. So we then cut to we also learn as well, sorry, that's my bad, we learn about the Tarkin, what is now being called the Tarkin massacre, which happened in 19 BBY. So the incident, this is basically the Legends version of the Gorman massacre. Tarkin landed his ship on 500 peaceful on like a group of peaceful protesters in the plaza, which was the like landing port, who refused to move because they were demonstrating against them, and Tarkin landed his ship on them, and he killed 500 of them and injured a load more. So this is now known as the Tarkin massacre. But what is going to happen in Andor is we're going to see the Gorman massacre. So basically, like there's two Gorman massacres, but they've brought the like Legends one into canon as well, which I think was really cool, and it gives you a bit more of a like, wow, Tarkin is not a good person. If he was just prepared to do that, you know. We see Benthic and Edro 2 tubes from Rogue One, who are part of Saul Guerrera's group. And they're on this planet, and they're sort of standing guard while we see an X-Wing land. Now, the thing comes up, the like planet name comes up, and it's one that we've actually seen before. So this planet is Dakar. Now, this is the planet where the Resistance base is in The Force Awakens, and where they are leaving at the start of The Last Jedi. So, yeah, so the Resistance will end up here many decades later. But, you know, it's quite cool to see the sort of X-Wings with the black, like the white X-Wings with like the black markings. And I believe this one landing is actually Saul Guerrera's. And then we see Willman is there, and he has this device which can like cipher and harness Rhydonian, which is a like fuel, very explosive as well. We see it in Rebels, we see it in Clone Wars, and it's part of the droid arc in Clone Wars, where the Separatists have taken over a what do you call it? A Venator, and they are loading it up with Rhydonian, and they're going to send it to the naval gathering, like the secret the secret Republic army meeting, and they're going to like blow it up and kill like all the elites in the Republic like army, like Yularen's there, Tarkin's there, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Mace, Cody, Bakara, Neo, like they're all there, all the top apart from Neo, like Palpatine. But the plan was there, and obviously R2D2 and the little droids and Gregor, bless him, they stop it, and it blows up like before it reaches it. Still causes a bit of damage, but like no one is like fully killed. I don't believe anyway. And R2D2 is destroyed, but he's put back together. So that was quite good. So yeah, a little nod to that. And we see Saul Guerrera comes over to the device, and he gives it like a sniff. He's like, oh, and it's really interesting because it's a fuel and a toxin and like it's explosive. So I believe the reason we see Saul Guerrera in Rogue One, and obviously in the last couple of episodes of Andor season 2, which we're going to see in the next couple of weeks, he has that breathing mask. In Rogue One, he's like, and then he like puts it down. The reason I believe he has that is because of his exposure to Rhydonian, which we will go into later because there's a whole monologue he gives and that. But I believe that's the reason why, which I think is a really interesting way of showing it, and fair play to giving it a context as to why this guy has this. so Willman is like, look, here's the device. You said I can now go because I've got somewhere to be. And he's like, well, you're going to show my people how to use it. And once they've done that, then we will let you go, not before, sort of thing. So then Willman is then tasked with sorting out teaching the Saws lot. And then sort of at the end of episode 4, we see Cassian meet with Luthen, who tells him to head to Gorman on a reconnaissance mission because he's obviously he wants to see what's going on and if they can be any use. So Cassian says goodbye to Bix, leaves, and we see Bix taking like a sleeping drug thing that puts her to sleep, which we learn a little bit more about in this episode coming up now. So then episode 5 starts with scattered radio broadcasts, shh, and I think you hear Ryloth mentioned and somewhere else, and then we go it cuts to Luthen's shop, and we see another Easter egg, as you can guess. We don't know if this is exactly Padme's, but I believe this is, you can clearly see it's a royal Naboo headpiece, but Padme does wear this in Phantom Menace. So this could be Padme's, you don't know. But there's another Padme headpiece. So a little Easter egg there. We then see Clea listening to, using the radio, listening in to Devo Scoldren, who is the dad of the guy who married Mon Mothma's daughter. He's a bit of a crook, so obviously they've tapped his one of the artifacts in his collection. But we hear him say that he's found a fraudulent item, and he's like, I want everything vetted. Then we see Cassian make his way to the shop. I think it's called Nicky Bon or something. And so he gets his sort of cover story for Gorman there. And they use the sort of code phrase, I have friends everywhere. But this guy, Nick, I think this is Nicky or Bon, and bloody hell, he's creepy looking. I'm just saying, he's very creepy. So, yeah. We then see Cassian with an earpiece in, and it's basically an information pack, a bit like Mission Impossible, where he's being told his mission, but he's getting told his story. So he's called Varian Sky, and he's a fashion designer. And then there's a whole backstory about his brother and stuff. So that was quite cool. So Cyril's office gets swept by ISB, where he's like, what are you doing? This is my office. We're in the middle of an audit. And they're like, we think this office is being bugged. So he puts up a bit of a complaint and then finally leaves. We see this woman as well who's in his sort of outer office where his employees are that he manages, use this little signal to let the rebels know that they are listening. So they quickly cut the broadcast, which I thought was quite cool. Again, very 1940s resistance France, So, clearly there's even someone in this office who's working for him. but it's all a bit of a show to make Cyril look, shall we say, like he's annoyed at ISB. So yeah. We then also see Devo say, like, I want everything vetted once and for all, everything, and he's like, everything. Like he's annoyed, he's pissed off, which I thought was quite funny. Then we see the rebels have picked up on Cyril's file, and they're reading it, and they're seeing that he got obviously discharged for this. The ISB fired him, sort of thing, and that he has no love for the ISB basically. And they're like, he's perfect. This is perfect that we can like recruit him and tell him of what's going on and stuff. But this was obviously leaked by Dedra and the ISB. So Luthen goes to visit Bix to see how she's doing. She opens the door and sees Luthen, and the first thing she says is like, "No," and he's like, "No, no, 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 he's not dead," which I thought was quite nice, but also like quite funny. So he's like, oh. First thing she sees, like seeing Luthen, is like, "Oh no, Cassian." By the way, they got quite a nice little apartment here, and Luthen has a bit of chat with her, basically saying, "How's the place?" And he's like, "Oh, I'll see if I can get you a better place or something next time or something." It's like, bloody hell. Luthen's the guy to get. He can get you what you want. And he tells her that he needs her ready for like missions, and that he needs Bix back because like Cassian's are too much, and she's a big asset that they can be used. But he's like, I need you at full capacity. I don't need you tired and sleepy as you are. And he picks up a little vial, and he's like, "Well, you've been taking this sleeping drug." And he's like, "Please stop taking it. It makes the hallucinations or the dreams come back worse. So you stop." Then we see this guy that Wilman is training. I think his name's Pluty or Pluto. I think it's Pluty. So he's training on the machines to try and cipher it, and he fails, but he's chatting away to Wilman, trying to get like, "Oh, who taught you this?" And Wilman doesn't say anything, doesn't reveal anything. But the guy's trying. So then we do also see that we see Cyril come back into the office a little bit later, and he's like, "They found a bug in my office. Apparently someone was listening." But he's quite annoyed because he's like, "Well, they think I did it." And it's like, why would I bug myself? Trying again to play the point of like, I have no love for the ISB. So he packs up his office because he's going back home for like a break. And he also finds out as well. Sorry, in between this, he has a meeting with the rebels outside of his house, and they say, "We need the manuscript cargo list of what is coming through the town every day and going into that building." And so he's like, "Okay, I'll see what I can do." So so he comes in here, and he like secretly takes the like information disc, hollow disc, and then gives it to the rebels just before he leaves to head back to Coruscant. We see Cassian arrive as Varian Sky, looking very snaz, and he makes his way to the hotel, which is quite cool. But just seeing him there looking like a fat, like he does look like a fashion designer. And someone said this is the first time I think sunglasses have been in Star Wars. I was like, do you know what? Maybe I could get away with a pair of Oakley Andors. Just saying. So we see Cyril arrive back on Coruscant, and he sort of makes his way to Dedra's, and they have this like very cold kiss where he sort of just like kisses her coldly on the cheek and then walks in. She's like, I had you followed. And he's like, how long can I? No, first he says, how long can I stay? She's like, an hour. He's like, an hour. She's like, yeah, I had you followed to make sure you weren't being followed. And he's like, you had me followed? And it's quite funny because it's almost like he feels quite proud that she's having people follow him. Like, he feels important. And then she tells him, turn off the lights. And then who knows what happens next? I'm not going to go into it too deep. I think you can use your imagination there. But lucky Cyril, maybe. So then we see, obviously, he's staying at home with his mum. And he gives her the spider, and she's like looking at it, and he's having his cereal and the blue milk, and he's sort of making it look as if he's like his useless self, and he's not actually with Dedra, but he is. Also, we do learn as well that Cassian is when he gets to the hotel, he has a chat with the bellhop, who tells him about the Tarkin massacre and what's going on, sort of thing. And you can see that he's sort of a bit of a rebel, like the bellhop, I believe. But yeah, Cassian's checking it out. Obviously, then we go back to Cyril here with his mum. Then we also get this Good Morning Coruscant like TV show, which is very like Panem, like Hunger Games. You know, like the Hunger Games capital with like propaganda, elaborate costumes, and like looks. And they're talking about how this is all to do with the like Senators Week. You know what I mean? So it's a bit weird to see, but also like you can understand why, because it's like they're doing this to like take the facade, like what's really going on with the Empire, like to hide it. It's all propaganda. But I thought it was quite interesting seeing. We see Cassian have he goes to like a coffee shop in the evening, and the one of the rebels approaches him like straight up, and he's like, okay, well, I could be anyone. I could be an ISB double agent. I could be, basically, he's like, I could be anyone. You don't know who I could be. So you really need to be better at like checking and doing your like following. So he knew that like she was following him. Like it was like there's a difference between him there and Cyril. So we see Cyril meet with Dedra and Partagaz at ISB headquarters, where Cyril tells Partagaz like everything that has happened, where he's been basically almost recruited by the rebels, and that he's gotten in. And he also gives him like what I need to keep it going. We need this. I need you to keep doing the transports on time. I need you to keep putting what's in them. Like, we need them to attack this place, because the big point of it, the plan is, which Dedra knows but Cyril doesn't know, is it's not to attract people like Axis, Luthen, or what's his name, or like Saw Gerrera to come in and help. It's to basically use the Gorman as like an example to be like, we can get away with what we want, sort of thing. So that's why they're using the rebels that way. And Partagaz compliments Cyril, to which Cyril says, "Would it spoil the moment if I said this was the best day of my life?" Which I thought was quite funny. We then go to back to Saw's group, where we see them roasting Massive. So this is one of those like Tusken Raider like dogs. You sort of get them on Tatooine and Geonosis. I think we saw them on there as well. But yeah, it's basically like a Tusken. You're known for the Tusken dogs, these ones. So they're having a bit of roast Massive. Saw is chatting to Pluty, and Pluty's like, "Oh, I need the location of the pipeline we're going to hit so I can work on the right variant." And in that moment, Saw Gerrera knows he's a spy and he's an Imperial, and his whole face and demeanor changes. And I think Forrest Whitaker is like, especially in this show, he's one of the better actors in it, because he didn't even say anything, but you could just see his face and reaction was like, I know you're a spy, I know you're lying, sort of thing. And I was like, that's really clever, really detailed acting. But Saw gives him a fake location. We then see Luthen and Claire in the shop having an argument, and they're basically talking about the bug, and they're like, we got to get rid of it. And he's like, yeah, but it's working. She's like, yeah, but it's going to get found. And they mention about how they caught Yularen lying about the Hollow News buyout when Skaldron had the Grand Vizier, the blue guy with the horns that we see in the prequels, had him over, and he basically revealed to him that Yularen basically bought the whole media for the to use it as a propaganda spy front, sort of thing, for the ISB and for the Empire. Then we see Saw chatting to Wilman and Pluty, and puts a gun to Wilman's face, and you're like, oh my god, he's going to kill Wilman. And then he shoots Pluty and tells him that he's a spy. Two Tubes searches the body, finds a device thing, and so they're like, he's a traitor. So they're like, we're packing up our stuff, they won't be coming back this way. And we see the cool shot of Pluty's body just sort of there, and the ship's taking off, and they head off into hyperspace, and they go to, I can't remember the place they go, but they go there to the real pipeline, where Wilman is actually working on the real refinery. This is a big man. He's got his breathing mask on. He's got his goggles. He's really working to get this, because if he gets it wrong, they all could die. And Saul gives. Before this bit though, we see Cassian meet with the rebels, and he says to Ryalison, the sort of grey-haired leader of them, that like their attack won't work, they're not prepared enough, and they are like, yeah, well, we don't really need your help, we're going to do it, we don't want to be a part of your thing. So he's like, all right. So Saw gives this passionate monologue while Wilman is working on this, and it's one of the best speeches in Star Wars. It's so good. So I'm going to read you out now, right? So bear with me. But this is how he says it, and what he says. I was young, and this is while, by the way, this is while Wilman is like heavily concentrating, trying not to die, while extracting the Rhydonian. He said, I was younger than you are now. I was a prisoner. They made a work camp in the jungle. No droids, no beasts, just men and cargo. Ondaran jungle. So Ondaran is where we see him and his sister in the Clone Wars when we first meet him. Ondaran jungle, real jungle, hot, wet, blistering jungle. Old men died fast, just dropped where they stood. We came back next day, there'd be nothing but a bone or two where they went down. Our clothes just melted away, so they worked us naked. 200-300 men. Boys, really. Back and forth until the only thing you could remember was back and forth. Then one day, everyone started to itch. Everyone, all at once, even the guards. You could feel your skin coming alive. It was the Rhydo. They had a leak. You could feel it before you could smell it. So they all panicked and ran away, but it was new to me. And then you hear like a click, and they're like, shh. And then he presses a button, and Wilman's like, it's done. You can open the valve now. And then Saw's like, haha, I have always loved you. Woman's like, what are you doing? Saw's like, there it is. Woman's like, how can you do that? Because he's like sniffing and breathing it in without any mask or breathing operation. So I was like, because I understand it. Because she's my sister, Rhydo, and she loves me. That itch, that burn. You feel how badly she wants to explode. Remember this moment, this perfect night. You think I'm crazy. Yes, I am. Revolution is not for the sane. Look at us, unloved, hunted, cannon fodder. We'll all be dead before the Republic is back, and yet here we are. Where are you, boy? You're here. You're not with Luthen, you're here. You're right here, and you're ready to fight. We're the Rhydo, kid. We're the fuel. We're the thing that explodes when there's too much friction in the air. Let it in, boy. That's freedom, call it. Let it in. Let it run. Let it run wild. And Wilman gives into his wanting to be a part of something bigger, etc. And he takes his mask off and inhales deeply, and he's like, oh, like he's smelling it and feeling it. And I was like, bloody hell, that is a powerful speech. Got me going. Yeah, here he is, like sniffing it in. It's like, what the hell? So you're crazy. Moving on to episode 6. I will try and do this as quick as I can for you guys because I know this has been going on a while. So this starts at the Port Steer Guard Imperial Navy Yard. So this is obviously something to do with the Imperials, where they build ships or stuff. And we have like a Imperial shipping container here, which I thought was quite cool. And this is where Cassian stole that star map from originally, which, was basically what started season 1 off. And got him on Luthen's map, shall we say. Cassian gets on Luthen's ship, and he tells him, he's like, how did it go? And he tells him Gorman is a lost cause, basically saying they're no good, they're not going to be any help. And Luthen's like, exactly. He's like, it will be a fire so bright it will burn across the galaxy, I think is how he says it. but basically saying like, look, we're doing this on purpose to let them like sacrifice themselves basically to attract more attention for people to join the rebellion, which is quite cool. But they have a bit of an argument about it because they're a bit at odds this season, and I'm a bit worried about that for the future episodes. Anyway, so they're going back to Coruscant, but we see as well that Luthen has sent to make sure that it happens and works, sends Val and Cinna to sort of take Cassian's place. So we see Perrin, who's Mon's husband, and Mon scheduling like 3 nights of senator dinners to obviously try and like recruit these newly elected senators and familiar faces to back this bill and stuff. And then we obviously come home, or we then see Cassian come home to Bix, and they have quite a nice little embrace, and then they have a bit of a falling out, and we see Cassian learn that Luthen was here to check on Bix and to try and like get her back in the fight, and Cassian's like, why is he doing that? And he's not happy about that, to be very honest. Then we see him go to Luthen's shop, but he goes there uncovered, like no disguise, nothing. He just goes there to confront him. So we get that, and Luthen plays it off very coolly, being like, "Oh, thank you for delivering this lost trinket," something like that. And they get into a bit of an argument, and Cassian's like, "I gave you everything," and he's like, "Everything." And yeah, I really feel there's quite a bit of tension between these two, and I really hope it doesn't end the way that I'm thinking it's going to end between these two. But I might be wrong. So yeah, but then Luthen's like, "Thank you for coming," and he just plays it off because Luthen is Luthen. Then we see Lonnie and this other Imperial being told by Partagast that they're being sent to this senator's like dinner thing to sort of see what's going on, basically being like undercover, almost not undercover, but just like being a presence there and seeing what's going on. And Lonnie, if you know, is the like spy that Luthen has. So he's a spy, and he's like, he tells them as well that Dr. Gerst's torture experiments is being expanded, so he's getting like a promotion. But when he tells this guy that the guy on the left, sorry, that he's going to this do, he says, "Calibrate your enthusiasm. It's only an assignment." And I was like, I really like that. I think that's really cool. But the reason he's sending these two and the other Imperial to the Senator do is because he's clearing out headquarters for the Gorman mission. Like he's taking them away from it because this is quite a top secret thing. Yeah, and then we see Cinna and Val having a coffee in Gorman, and she says it's been a long year. She's had to rest for like a lot of it, so we don't know what happened. The last we saw of it is basically Cinna try flying Tay Colmer on Mothma's like knowing X a way, obviously, clearly to kill him. So, yeah. Then we see Partagas asking Dedra for an update on what is happening, and we see that he's like an attack. He tells her that like an attack is imminent from what they've heard and received. And we also see this meeting of the rebels with Val and Cinna, and she's like, right, this is how you're going to do it. You're going to plan it. This is how we're going to we're going to disrupt the cargo, grab the stuff and go. Like, you have a set time. We're not going to go past that. And this Sam guy that we saw earlier is like, oh no, but we need to get as many weapons as we can. And she's like, no, you do the plan. If you can't follow orders, you're no good being here. So he sort of shuts up and they plan it. Then we see the Senate, which is very interesting. We haven't seen for a while. And in the middle, where Palpatine is, we see a guy who's called the Oath Keeper, where they do this like loyalty oath chant, like speech, like, and we see like Mon Mothma's doing it, and she's got on the pod. They've all got the Imperial logo on them, which I thought was quite cool. Because obviously it's not the Republic now; it's got the Imperial stuff. And Mon is doing the loyalty oath, and she doesn't finish the end bit, which is for glory and bounty, I think is the ending of it. And you can see her like gripping the control panel a bit, so it's like she is not happy at all. Then sort of we see the I think is like, I can't remember what happens in between, but next thing that we see is Mon Mothma and Perrin arriving at this dinner, and they are greeted by Senator Bail Organa, who has been recast. So the reason, or basically the person who plays him now, sorry, let me just get it up for you guys. So I'm just trying to find it. So this is Benjamin Bratt. So this is the new Bail Organa. And the reason why he is being recast from the iconic Jimmy Smith, who's played him in the prequels and Kenobi and Rogue One, Jimmy Smith, is because of scheduling conflicts. Like, Jimmy couldn't make it for this shoot, so they obviously decided to go with a recasting. And he doesn't seem too bad. We don't see like a lot of him, but he is obviously a big part of the Rebel and sort of Star Wars story, so you can't just not have him in it. So I'm glad they did it, but it's fine. So then we see Devo, Scoldron and his wife greeting Mon Mothma and Perrin with the paparazzi droid taking pictures of them. And Mon mentions something like, oh, have you heard, or Devo says, oh, have you heard from the kids or something? And they're like, no. And he's like, oh, well, we'll speak to them, or we'll get in touch with them shortly or something. So clearly they're doing their own thing now. And then there's a bit of like a party where everyone's like meeting and chatting. We see Luthen like talking about some jewelry that some alien senator has on. And he says he reckons it could be from the Lost Empire. And then one of them mentioned like, "Oh, where's your rings or something tonight?" And he's like, "Oh, I was worried one of you would buy them off me or something like that." Like, you see Luthen being properly like, haha, flamboyant Luthen. But this lost empire could be another reference to the Rakatan Empire that has come up a lot in this series. So keep an eye out for that. So then they all head to the sort of showroom, Luthen as well, and Clea basically blackmails Lonnie to come with her, and she's going to use him as a human shield. So then we see Krennic is already there with some of the Imperials, and he has a bit of a verbal spat with Mon Mothma, a little bit of a jousting. She's like, "Oh, it's so nice to see you off the witness stand," or something for a change. So clearly, there's been something that he's been testifying in, and she's like, "Oh, nice to see you," sort of thing. But they're having a bit of a verbal spat, and they're talking about all these different artifacts and history, and how in the Imperial Academy this one thing is taught, this one battle is taught to them through this way, whereas Mon was taught it the other way. Yeah, really, really interesting. Then we see obviously Clea here with Lonnie using him to like block the view while she like takes the listening device out, and she gets this like key and it gets stuck, and she's like, "I can't do it." So she's like really trying to like rotate it and unjam it, and it gets to the point like Mon Mothma and like the group are moving closer to the artifact, and they're having this like verbal spat, and there's a bit where so while this is going on, by the way, we see the rebels take down the transport carrier. Sort of some like electro pulses go off under the thing, like stopping it. That's where you see it like tear up the road as it like digs in. Senna jumps down and like takes out the driver, and then they all start like all the rebels start unloading the weapon crates down into the sewers and then onto another transport below. And while that is happening, we go and keep sort of swapping back between these two. And there's a really cool line where sort of the last thing like Krennic says to Mon is like, "My rebels, your terrorists," something like that. And it's like, whoa, that's brutal. And Claire is really trying as well to get this key off, and she like twists it like so hard that like it draws blood in her hand, and she finally gets it basically off in time, thankfully. And she talks about how this whole device was from a civilization where they were basically blind, and that very interesting. And then one of the locals that was at the town meeting, who was very passionate, like tries to see what's going on, and Sam tells him, "Look, there's bigger things going on here. Go away." And so this local's like, "Nah, get away from me." Pushes past him, and Sam pulls out a blaster, and only Cinna and Val are meant to have blasters because of this exactly. And he pulls a gun on this guy, and they get into a confrontation, and boom, it accidentally goes off and hits Cinna and kills her straight away. Oh no. Val is like in complete shock. And this guy, by the way, Cyril is like watching this on from afar with like binoculars, and so he's like reporting to ISB like what's going on. So then they're like, right, call in the reinforcements loudly. We don't like make a show of them arriving. So this guy, this local, I can't remember his name, but he like picks up Cinna's body and carries her with him, and they all sort of escape. And Val has to be taken away by one of the other rebels who's like, she's in complete shock. And then on the transport, Val belates him. Like, she goes off on him. Like, she's like, because he's crying, she's like, look at me. You will have to live with this now for the rest of your life. Like, this is on you. And he's like crying, he's like, it's like skin. This will never leave you. And it's like, oh my God, damn, Val, damn. So yeah, so Cinna's died, unfortunately. Yeah, and then the sort of episode ends with Doctor. Also, we see Claire and Luthen leaving the party, and he says something like, "Oh, we should have killed Krennic while we were up there," and she's like, "That's more like it." And they sort of laugh and smile as they leave. And then we see Dr. Ghost again from obviously season 1, the guy who's been giving Bix nightmares, and he's got this like little fancy food thing in a box, and he makes his way to his office or lab, and Bix is already in there waiting for him. So she quickly like overpowers him, puts the like restraint on his mouth so he can't scream or shout out. She straps him into his like experiment chair, and then she puts the like torture device that he put on her, she puts it on him. It's like, oh, lovely. And she turns the machine on full and just leaves him there to go absolutely like basically to torture him the way that he tortured her. But as she's leaving, there's an Imperial like security officer like, oi, what are you doing? And she kills him, and then she regroups with Cassian on the outside, and they're just walking away, and Cassian activates a trigger, causing off an explosion in the lab. So Bix got a chance to torture Ghost the way he did her, to like make him suffer before the end, before obviously blowing it up so they couldn't bring it back to either of them or whatever. So yeah, that's the end of Dr. Ghost, and what a way to end the episode as well. Quite a badass way to end it as well, wouldn't it? So I can't wait for the next episode tomorrow. Like I said, me and Chloe will probably do that on Thursday next week, because next Sunday, or around then, because obviously me and Chloe have got to do a Tales of the Tales of the Underworld breakdown first. So yeah, we've got a lot to do. So bear with us, guys. Okay, now, meme of the week. I saw this and I thought it was very funny. Ewoks aren't meant to be left outside, they're Endor pets. And there's a picture of like Wicket outside a front door. Personally, I really like this. I thought it was so funny. That's the sort of dad humour, isn't it? They're Endor pets. But yeah. I do have a Trooper of the Week for you guys. So his name is Yorkie. And the video is just so funny. So it's him at a Lego store, but there's like a queue. He's like, what on earth is going on? Why is it taking so long? So he's there in the queue, and the stormtrooper, who's got the Lego apron on, can't hit the barcode. I thought that was so clever, because they can't hit a target. And if you have a look on our memes, like on our Instagram, you will see I posted a meme about that the other day, like stormtroopers missing. Yeah. So anyway, thank you guys for sticking with me for over an hour and a half while listening to me talk about Andor and the new releases. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know it's not the same without Chloe, and hopefully she'll be with me for the next episode. But yeah, have a good rest of your day, guys. We will see you soon. Don't forget to go check us out on our Instagram and TikTok, and we will see you in the next couple of days. So may the force